You know, some crimes do more than just break the law. They completely shatter our sense of safety. And it's not always about how many people are hurt, it's the terrifying randomness of it. The idea that anyone, anywhere, could be next. Today, we're going to deconstruct two events that burned that exact fear right into the American psyche. For 3 straight weeks in October of 2002, this phrase, just scribbled on a tarot card, was the calling card of a phantom sniper, an invisible killer who turned the entire Washington, D.C. area into a hunting ground, and introduced a whole nation to the chilling, up-close reality of a spree killing. So, to really get a handle on what happened in these cases, we first need to understand the specific type of person we're talking about. The term gets thrown around a lot, but believe me, the distinction is absolutely critical. And that term is spree killer. Now, according to the experts, the key phrase here is no cooling off period. See, unlike other killers who target multiple victims, a spree killer's violence is all one big, compressed, continuous event. It's a single, horrifying rampage that can last for hours or days or even weeks. So, let's break this down, right? A mass murderer, that's one horrible event in one place. Think of a single shooting. A serial killer, on the other hand, takes breaks. Days, months, sometimes years between their crimes. That's their cooling off period. But the spree killer? They're in this terrifying middle ground. Multiple locations, but with no emotional reset. It's just one continuous storm of violence. All right, let's open our first case file. This one takes us to a single, brutal day that left investigators with a chilling mystery. Not a question of who did it, but of what was happening inside the killer's mind. On August 1st, 1966, a 25-year-old former Marine and Eagle Scout named Charles Whitman started his day by murdering his mother, then his wife. After that, he drove to the University of Texas at Austin, went all the way up the campus clock tower, and for 96 minutes, he just rained death down on the people below. By the time the police finally shot and killed him, the human cost was just staggering. 17 people dead, 31 wounded. For a nation that wasn't used to this kind of public massacre, it felt like it came from absolutely nowhere. An act of pure, random violence by a man who, on the surface, seemed totally normal. But here's where it gets even stranger. These are Whitman's own words, from a note he typed the night before. He actually describes himself as a victim of his own thoughts, saying he couldn't control his violent impulses. This wasn't some evil confession. It was a plea for an explanation. He even specifically asked that an autopsy be performed after he was dead to find out what was wrong with him. So this just begged the central question for everyone. Was this guy a monster, or was something physically, medically wrong with him? Could there actually be a biological reason for this kind of horror? And that autopsy he asked for? Well, it revealed something absolutely stunning. He had a pecan-sized brain tumor, a glioblastoma, and it was pressing right up against his amygdala. Now, the amygdala, that's basically your brain's alarm system. It controls primal emotions like fear and aggression. The commission that investigated later concluded the tumor conceivably could have contributed to his inability to control his emotions and actions. It opened up this huge debate about biology, free will, and where a person's choices end and their disease begins. Okay, let's shift gears to our second case. Here, we're moving from an internal mystery of why to the sprawling external mystery of how. The horror wasn't hidden inside one man's skull. It played out in public, across an entire metro area, for 3 weeks that must have felt like an eternity. For 22 days in October 2002, the Washington, D.C. area was literally held hostage by fear. A sniper, or maybe snipers, just started killing people at random. The first murder was October 2nd. By the very next morning, 4 more people were dead. The attacks just kept coming, with no rhyme or reason, until the last victim was killed on October 22nd. The real nature of the terror was in what the victims were doing. The most mundane, everyday stuff imaginable. Mowing the lawn, pumping gas, shopping. The message was terrifyingly clear. No one was safe, and nowhere was safe. Life itself had become a lethal lottery. So how do you catch a ghost? Well, ironically, the break in the case came from the killers themselves. They made a phone call bragging about a murder down in Alabama, and that sent investigators scrambling. At that crime scene, they found a magazine with a fingerprint on it. That print belonged to a teenager named Lee Boyd Malvo. His records linked him to an older man, John Allen Muhammad. And Muhammad, well, he had a car registered in his name, a blue Chevy Caprice. With the suspects finally identified, the hunt was on for that one blue Caprice. And when they finally found it, what was inside revealed the horrifyingly clever mechanics of their entire operation. This was it, a 1990 Chevy Caprice. This was the key to how they operated like ghosts, striking from a distance and then just melting back into traffic. But it was way more than just a getaway car. It had been meticulously transformed into a weapon. Inside, investigators basically found a mobile command center for terror. The Bushmaster rifle from the attacks, a scope, a stolen laptop with maps of the shooting sites all marked out. It just painted a picture of a carefully planned and executed reign of terror. But the most chilling discovery, the detail that just sends a shiver down your spine, was a simple, horrifying modification. The back seat had been altered so the shooter could get to a small hole that was cut right through the trunk. This turned the entire car into a rolling sniper's nest, letting them kill from complete and total concealment. On October 24th, John Allen Muhammad and Lee Boyd Malvo were arrested while they were asleep in their car at a rest stop. The shootings were over, but the story of their twisted motives and the chilling psychological grip the older man had on the teenager, that was just beginning to unfold. So, what happened to them? Justice was delivered. Both men were convicted in multiple trials. John Allen Muhammad, the mastermind, was sentenced to death and executed in 2009. Lee Boyd Malvo, who was just a juvenile at the time, got multiple life sentences without any chance of parole. But in later testimony, Malvo revealed a plan that was way more terrifying than what had actually happened. The DC attacks, that was just phase 1, and it was supposed to be 6 kills a day for 30 days. Phase 2 was killing a police officer and then bombing their funeral. And phase 3, extorting millions of dollars to recruit and train homeless children to unleash waves of terror all across the country. So we have these 2 cases, 2 American nightmares that really define the horror of the spree. One, Charles Whitman, is this internal mystery, a question of biology and what can go wrong inside a human brain. The other, the Beltway snipers, is an external mystery, a massive challenge of detection against killers who were hiding in plain sight. And both cases force us to confront the same really unsettling reality, that the line separating a normal day from an unimaginable horror can be terrifyingly thin. They leave us with a question that just kind of lingers, long after the headlines are gone. In a world where violence can just erupt so randomly, can any of us, can any place ever be truly safe?